So how do we replace bad and good habit? Right? So how do we do that? That's why I brought our speaker here today. I let him do about his introduction, but I want to tell you. So you'll be impressed. I heard about him a few years back. Even my mentor said, Angelina, she said, you gotta talk to this guy. He's really smart. He's only in high school. And he's really smart. And I was like, really? So I was like, and you might guess how old he is now. Yeah, so he, and I heard him talk one time at outside the box meeting about habits, and I was blown away. I was like, oh wow, he's only that old, that young, and he's already have that list of habits already. I feel so ashamed. That, yeah, so I take so much notes when he talks, and I can imagine that I took that much of note from I think you was not even 18 yet. But, so how old are you now?
17.
Yeah,
now I'm 19.
And he's 19. So don't think, yeah. So he's young, but he's impressive. You'll be surprised. So that's why I bring him here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tal.
He said he has an opera voice, so he doesn't need a microphone.
Theater voice. I did theater for 3 years, so let me know if I'm too loud.
All right.
Thank you, Tal. I appreciate it. Lucas, would you like to? Sure. I'm gonna have my legendary brother help me with the slides today. I'm Samuel, by the way. I am 19. Little things about me. I really just like saying this. I haven't done it a lot yet, but I like jumping out of planes, and I like flying planes. I just try not to jump out of the ones that I fly, and I've only done both of those things one time, but like trying to do more. So I just love all of business and its values and how it's about giving value. So I think I met Tal a few years ago, and I've been surrounded by amazing people for the last 4 or 5 years that brought me into real estate places, networking places, and it just gave me this gratitude and this desire to work on myself and to share what I've learned with other people. So that's what I'm going to do here today, hopefully. No signal. There we go. So, what are we talking about today? So today, we're talking about how to create successful daily habits, aka I like to call them lifestyle habits, because they're not just something that you do for a short amount of time and then stop. They're something that is built into your lifestyle and a continual growth and have the potential to last forever. So, what is a lifestyle habit? Well, like I just said, it's a daily practice of bettering yourself in a specific area of your life so that you're constantly growing. So another analogy for that, example, is working out every day with the goal of continually becoming stronger and more fit forever versus a specified cutoff of like, you're this fit and now you can stop getting better. So it's just continually growing for the rest of your life. So an example of that is, I like to use the S&P 500 as an analogy for daily habits, because a lot of you, if you've studied stocks at all, things like that, you can, focus really hard and learn different stocks and try to get in at the right time and out at the right time and potentially have amazing returns. But a lot of people that already have lots of money and just want a safer investment strategy will use the S&P 500 because although it goes up and down all the time, generally it has about a 10% upward trend every single year. And so it's this constantly getting better regardless of the up and downs. So that is what I've structured my habits and the framework that I create habits in, is so that they go up and down, but they're constantly getting better and there's something you never lose. So, pop quiz. On average, we just talked about New Year's resolutions. How many of you would like to guess how many people, like what percentage of people complete their New Year's resolutions? 0.1.
Wow.
I'll give it 2%.
2%. All right. Anyone else?
10.
10%?
30.
30? 5? 35? Huh? 100, all of them. So, based on a study done in 2016, it's roughly 8%. So, that is meant to be an encouragement. I'll let you know why in a little bit. But about 8% of people who set up a resolution don't complete it, and that's only in a 1-year time frame. About 43% quit after the first month. So, that brings us to this question. Why me? Why am I up here talking to you? I'm a 19-year-old kid. I know very little about a lot of things. Why am I qualified to say anything? First of all, I have 12 daily habits that I do every day for the last 4 years that I've never stopped. Ever. Every single day. And next slide, please. I have worked out for 1,400 plus days straight. I've written over 2,000 things that I'm grateful for. I have documented 1,400 plus journal entries of my day-to-day life that I can look back and say, what was I doing exactly on this day 3 years ago? And I can listen to myself and listen to the problems I had and listen to the things I was worried about, the things I was succeeding at when I was at 16. I can listen to that because I've documented it. I've written over 5,000 affirmations for who I want to become and who I am, and I've done Bible reading every day, singing, dancing, reading, meditating. You mentioned meditating earlier, writing goals, creating, praying, all those things I've done every single day, and that's what it's led to, and I've never stopped. And so this presentation is not just for me to brag about things that I've done, but it's also not about what you should do. I'm not here to tell you that you guys need to do anything like this. You don't need to structure habits like this. This is just what I did and how it's helped me, and I just hope that it can help you guys. So, are you ready? Yeah. All right. Let's get started. So, there are 2 major keys to creating successful daily habits that I've found that work for me. The first one is super simple. It's commitment. Second one, standards. So, those are almost entirely the only 2 things that you need in order to make this work, or that I need to make this work. So it's first one, commitment. Super simple. Commitment is simply sticking to the standard that you set for yourself. So you tell yourself you're going to do something, and you do it. You are committed. In order to do these habits, you have to first decide that whatever standard I set it to, I will do these habits. I will commit to doing it every day. And you won't allow yourself to make excuses. That is the first part. It is super, super simple. Next one is standards. So, a little definition for that we're going to use is a standard equals the lowest possible amount of action that you are setting for yourself in order to constitute something as successful. The very minimum. For example, if you had a daily habit of working out for 10 minutes a day, your standard is 10 minutes. So if you do anything less than 10, you've broken your standard. Another powerful thing about standards that I found super important to learn is that a standard is only valid as long as you keep it. Once you break it, if you do less than 10 minutes, if your standard is 10 and you do less than that, 10 is now invalid. The standard is now invalid, and next time you come to a question of living up to your standard, you'll say, I already broke it. It already doesn't mean anything. You've already proven to yourself that that standard does not mean anything by your actions. So standards are super, super important, and so is water. Fascinatingly enough. I think we need it to survive, partially. Next slide. So, the perfect standards. Yay. And a big portion of this is how deciding to lower my standards is actually one of the greatest things I ever did for myself. And led to some of the most amazing growth that I've ever seen, that I honestly had only dreamed of. And that sounds ironic. I know I sound crazy, because I know all of you are very smart people and have grown up and have lived to put yourself and those people around you in high standards, to have high standards for yourself, to have high standards for your character, for your actions, for your disciplines, to have high standards. And we all know that that is a good thing. And so I'll explain a little bit about what I mean with low standards and how that helped me achieve the success that I've achieved in habits. So, are you guys digging this right now?
Yeah.
So far? Okay, cool. Goals versus standards. So the goal and the standard, we're going to pull away to two different things to help understand this a little bit better. So a goal might be to work out for 30 minutes a day, to write 10 things you're grateful for, a 5-minute journal, an hour of reading. The standard that I would use is you did one single squat. You didn't even do a squat because you were sick and all the white blood cells are boxing the disease off all day long, and that was your workout. That's the standard. That's the lowest bar. That's the barrier to entry for accomplishing your habit for the day. But your goal is 30 minutes. So oftentimes, we'll look here in a second what I call a linear standard, and that's when your goal and your standard are the same. So your goal is to do 30 minutes, and your standard is to do 30 minutes. Anything less than that breaks your standard. But this, we have a goal up here, and you keep that goal in mind, and then you have a standard like past below this floor. Okay? That can be writing one thing you're good for, like the goal is to write 10. Horrible day, read one sentence from a new book. All of those are very small things in themselves, but I'll talk here a little bit about how those can compound and what they actually look like. So, next slide. This is an example of a linear standard. I'm sure all of you guys know that our lives do not go in a straight line. What do they often go more like? Up and down and really high up and really low down and then up and down and like really fast up and down. They're up and down. A lot of times they look more like this blue line. And so when we have a linear standard, let's take the 30 minutes again, that is our standard. Any time that your life goes below this standard, you will break it. And you will end up failing the standard you have set for yourself. So what that looks like is you set a goal to do 30 minutes of working out a day, and 2 weeks in, you've been doing great. You've done it every single day for the last 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks in, something happened at home. There was a storm. Someone kept making noise. You woke up. You got 4 hours of sleep. You got a super long day at work. There were constant fires to put out for your business. Things were going on. People were calling you all day. You get back. Someone was upset about something, and now you have to deal with that. And you stayed up because you have a big project the next day. You got very little sleep as well. And so you get to the end of the day, and you're about to go to bed. And you're like, I was supposed to work out. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm like close to passing out from working and I remember something like that, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'm going to feel really bad about it because I set myself to a standard, but I'm still not going to do it. And so I'm going to wake up the next morning, not only tired, but now I'm going to wake up the next morning and my actions have told me that I am not someone who lives up to my standards. I am not someone who is consistent. I am not someone who does what they say they're going to do. And that grates on me. That takes a little bit of that self-esteem. That takes a little bit of that confidence. I walk a little shorter instead of walking a little taller. And then I keep going through my own stuff. And then I'm like, oh, it's fine. Push it away. I'll do it again, today. I'll work out 30 minutes. So you work out 30 minutes after. Goes on a little bit longer. The next time, you're slightly less tired, but you've already broken your standard, so why not only 10 minutes today? Right? And that broke your standard again. And so you get to this point about a month in, you've broken your standard multiple times, and you're like, you know what? I'll just quit. Work is super busy right now. I can work on habits later. I can work out a bunch, later. A few months go by, you haven't done anything because you stopped. You broke your habit. You quit. So on the next slide, this is what I've done and how I would set up a standard and a habit. So your life goes up and down. And your new standard, your goal is going to remain the same. Your goal can be 30 minutes. Your new standard is the tiniest bit. And so what you'll see is that your standard will follow your life. And so you'll get one squat. That day that you were super tired and you were about to pass out, guess what? You could still do one squat. You could still do one push-up. You did one momentary thing for that habit. Let's say it was journaling. Go back to we went with the other slide earlier. If it's journaling, you turned record on and you said, "Good night, me. I had a horrible day today. I'm going to bed." That was your journal. Was it 5 minutes? Was it 10? No. But you kept your standard. You followed through on what you said you were going to do. And what happens when you set a barrier to entry that low, oftentimes you start and you keep going. Because most people, the hard part is, how many of you would agree that one of the hardest things when it comes to doing something new is just the starting? Yeah. It's hard to start, but once you get going, oftentimes we'll just keep going. For example, I was up until about 1 a.m. last night trying to finish these slides. And afterwards, guess what I hadn't done yet? I hadn't done my gratitude journaling, my affirmations, my journaling, or my writing my goals or prayer journaling, anything like I hadn't done those yet. I still needed to write those. And so instead of having a bar that was set with, I need to write 10 things down that I'm grateful for, because that honestly would have sucked. At that point, even 10 things was too much. But I wrote one, and then I wrote a second one, and then I wrote a third one, and then I wrote a fourth one. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. I'm done. I'm good with 4. That's fine. I'll do more the next day. Because I completed my habit. I could have stopped at 1. I could have just scrapped the writing in and recorded it, which would have taken about 2 seconds. I could have looked at a mirror and said it to myself. But once I wrote 1, I'm already there. I already have the pen out. I might as well write a couple more. I haven't been able to get myself to write just one thing I'm grateful for the last few weeks. I can't do it. I start one and then I write 3, 4, 5, 10 more. Because it's addicting to me at this point. I've written over 2,000 things I'm grateful for. That changes your perspective. It's great. And so what happens is you get 1 hour of kayaking because you're out with a friend, and now it's more than the 30 minutes, and then you have the 1 squat. And then it goes up and down. And so it averages itself out, and you call a buddy up and you say, hey, let's go to the gym. You guys go for 2 hours. And then the next day you only do 5 minutes. And then you do 30, 10, 40. And it goes up and down, but because your barrier to entry on the standard is so low, you keep going. There's no reason for you to stop. You don't lose anything by keeping going. It's not hard to keep going. And so now you're 4+ years into working out every single day, and that changes your mindset to be that purposeful and that intentional with the skill like that. So let's go into a little bit of the math. If your goal is 30 minutes and your standard is 30 minutes, you did it for 3 weeks, it's about 10.5 hours that you worked out before you failed and you quit. You go back to the other example, next slide. Your goal is 30, your standard is the tiniest bit, all right? And you averaged about 10 minutes a day. You calculated all the ups and downs, and on average, about 10 minutes. But you did it for 4 years. That's 243 hours. That's a little more than 10.
Sure.
So, next slide. The numbers sound great. I love numbers. I love water. The numbers sound great, but there is something that we have not discussed a whole lot yet, and that is character. So, I've done a lot of cool things with these habits over the last 4 years. I did not expect it to go this way, guys. I was a 16-year-old. I was reading Atomic Habits. I don't know how many of you have read Atomic Habits. A few people in the room. Jason, I love it. And I saw that, Atomic Habits, he talks a lot about creating a low barrier to entry and making it easy to do new habits. And I was like, well, I'm 16, I have a lot of cool people around me. I want to work out, stretch, meditate, and journal every day. Because I want to get better physically, I want to get better mentally, and I want to get better spiritually. Those are the 3 things I wanted to do every day. And so I started before, and I just started doing them every day. And then I realized it was a month in, and I'd done them every day. And so I was like, okay, what if I add 2 more? What if I add 4 more? And that's how I ended up at 12 now. So who knows how many it'll be. Catch up with me in like 5 years. I'll be like, these 50 habits I've done for 10 years. Like, I don't know. But I decided to just keep going, and I did not expect to be here. I've done a lot of cool things. I'm not the biggest guy you'll ever meet. But I've been working out for 4 years in a row. I've done 1,000 push-ups in 2.5 hours. Because I was purposeful. But the biggest part to me that has changed my life is the character growth. So next slide. It is famously said by an author, one of my favorite authors, Jim Rohn, that it's not about what you're doing. It's not about the 1 jumping jack. It's not about 1,000 jumping jack. It's not about 10,000. It's not about what you're doing. It's about who you're becoming. And I realized that for myself, let's go to the next slide. When I was in broken habit cycles, where you start something, and you do it a little bit, and then you don't follow through, and then you stop, and then you wait, and then you start another one, and you stop, and you start another one. When you're in that cycle, how many have heard actions speak louder than words? How many have heard done beats doubt? That's a pretty recent one for me. When you tell someone you're going to do something versus when you show them that you're going to do it and you've done it. How many of you, if someone came to you today and was like, hey, I want a job. I'm a perfectly upstanding U.S. citizen. And you look at their background check. They've been in and out of jail for 10 years. Which are you going to believe more? Which are you going to put more of an emphasis on? It's usually the actions. So I realized for myself that when I did that, my actions, regardless of what I told myself, my actions said I was undisciplined, I couldn't follow through, I was a quitter, I was a failure, I didn't have integrity on what I said I was going to do. That's what my actions told me. And then my actions told me I was a liar because I said I wasn't that and I acted like I was. So what I realized for daily habits is that I use affirmations in my day. It's one of my daily habits is writing personal affirmations. I'm getting better every day, things like that. But my daily habits have been the greatest affirmation that I could ask for the last 4 years. Because when you do something that consistently, over and over and over and over again, you prove to yourself through your actions that you are a man of integrity or a woman of integrity. I proved to myself that I was a man of integrity, a man of discipline, a man of consistency. It gave me a confidence. It boosted my confidence to levels I couldn't have imagined because I walk around and I know that I am honest with myself and that I do the things I say I'm going to do. And I keep the standards I set for myself. And I'm constantly working on myself to get better every single day, even if it's just the tiniest bit. You can have the worst day on the planet. My worst day is always going to be better than it was. Because I know that on the worst day, I will be doing 12 things to better myself, no matter what. And that boosts your confidence. That changed my life and changed who I saw myself as. So, that's that's pretty much it. That is the story you tell yourself. That is what I found to be most valuable to me when it came to creating daily habits. That's how I created those. If you go to the next slide, habits change into character. I love that. That is really all that there is to create these habits. It's very simple. And I love sharing it with people every time because it means so much to me of how it's changed my life, and it's so simple to do. Also, this QR code, my lovely friend Roger helped me get that ready for you guys today. This is going to send you to a Google form for what I call the next level. And this is, now you've learned how to create daily habits that are just up and down, and you'll keep those, and you know how to just keep those going. The next level is for those of you that have like specific, time frame goals that you're like, oh, I really need to be working out minimum 30 minutes because I have a tournament coming up, or I need to get stronger for this, or I need to do this action on making money for my business. I need to be having this goal. That's what the next level is for, and I provide accountability for you people who want that, to have like everyday reminders, calls, texts, emails, and just also I'm going to be doing some workshops here soon, so that has a place where you can put your email and name. And let's go into, anyone have questions? Q&A? Yes, Tal?
Hey, can you tell us about your 12 habits?
Yes, okay. So, the 12 habits that I currently have right now are working out, stretching, meditating. So working out, stretching, meditating, journaling. And then for me, I do singing and dancing, singing/dancing, so one of the two, because I'm like an actor, dancer, theater kind of kid. And
Really?
And so I wanted something to practice getting better at that every day. I'm like, if I'm going like this, it's because I'm mentally writing it on my whiteboard. Because that's one of the other things. The only times when I've missed something is if I just forget. And I've forgotten very few times, but I have forgotten. Because things go on, and you wake up the next day, and you look at your journals like, I didn't journal. And so for me, I write it on my whiteboard every day. I just write the first letter of each habit. So I remember, I walk out into my living room, and I see that they're on there. I'm like, that's what I need to be doing today. So working out, stretching, meditating, journaling, singing, dancing, affirmations. I do gratitude journaling. A little side note on the gratitude journaling. How many of you have heard, like, you can always be really grateful for small things, right? Mm-hmm. I did too, and I like that. But there was a time in my life a few years ago when things were going on, and I didn't really want to be grateful for even little small things. And I would go for walks a lot. I would just go outside, and on one of those walks, I kind of realized that not only can you be grateful for small things, you can also be grateful for like negative things. And that blew my mind, because I realized now I can be grateful for everything. There's no time in which I can't be grateful. Because if it's raining and it's stormy, you can be grateful for the perspective that the storms are giving you. Because if you didn't know what a storm was like, you wouldn't appreciate the sun as much. And so I just realized that going through one of my walks, and it changed my whole perspective. And it's been, that alone has been one of my favorite habits to do, because you start to see the numbers going up, and you're like, I've written 100 things. I've written 1,000 things. I've written 2,000 things. Every time I reach a new landmark, I'm like, Mommy, check it out. I reached 3,000 things I'm grateful for. It's like so random, but it excites me, because now your focus on life is thinking about things that you're grateful for. Those pop out to you when you're going through your daily life. Things just pop out to you that you're like, oh, I'm grateful for that. Oh, I'm grateful for that. And it's not as negative an outlook. And I've heard it said that the things you focus on, you will attract into your life. So I just like that one. Gratitude journaling affirmations. Let's see. Cleaning. That's going to seem like a random one. One of my habits is cleaning every day. I find something to clean, just to make something, my environment, more organized. Because your environment is very important for who you're becoming as well. Who and what you surround yourself with automatically starts building onto you. And so if you're surrounded by a dirty, unclean, unorganized environment, your mind will be cluttered and you won't be able to think the thoughts that you need to be thinking in order to keep progressing. And so I put cleaning as one of mine. I have reading my Bible every day for one of mine, because I'm a man of faith, and I believe that digging into God's Word is important for me to understanding more. That's just, again, it's a personal thing. And so I have reading my Bible every day, even if it's tiny, even if it's one verse, it doesn't matter. It's just to keep going. And then I have praying, I believe. I think for a while I had meditating and praying as like I could do either. I've created as well. Creating is one of my daily habits. So I think what you'll notice is that a lot of these habits are pretty vague because there's so many ways you can accomplish them. And so you just keep accomplishing them no matter what. So creating is another one. I could draw a tree, or I could create a presentation. Create a new dance move. Choreograph. I've done that too. Write a song. Exactly. Do a little, I don't know. But creating has been an important thing for me as well. Just keep as a daily habit. And sometimes I've gotten into phases where, like right now, I've been working probably more than I've worked in most of my life because I'm like barely an adult. And I'm like, responsibility is weird. I don't know what to do with this thing. Someone stopped using this R word around me. Like, figuring out, the amount of work it takes. And so I've had a lot of times where I'm doing what I feel is like not how much I want to be doing on my habits. I'm like just doing the bare minimum. I'm doing the tiniest bit for like a few weeks at a time. I'm like, I wish I was doing more, but I'm so busy with all these other things. Where was I going with that? Let's see, we were talking about cleaning, creating. Oh yeah, one of these is just a reminder of what to keep a purposeful reminder so that when you are in a phase where you do have more time, you're still being purposeful with doing those. And you're still focused on growing in those areas of your life. And then I have writing goals. I have writing goals out because I heard a statistic one time that you're more likely to achieve goals that you write down, and so I started writing mine down. And they can be any type of goal. So those are the 12 habits that I currently have. Yes?
For the gratitude journal, do you ever find yourself repeating the same?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time, yeah.
I feel like there are some days I'm just like, when I write it down, I can't seem to think of anything, and I just write the same stuff I wrote down before.
And I realize that's totally okay. Because you can write down the same thing. I'm totally fine being grateful for the same thing multiple days in a row. I will be grateful for my family a lot of days in a row. And then there will be days that my family's not even in my gratitude journal at all. It's like my bed or something. I'm like more grateful for the toilet that day than I was for my family. I don't know. Plumbing is cool. America is cool. I'm glad we have plumbing. I'm grateful for that. I don't know. I'm glad to be born in this time. So the gratitude journal for me, sometimes I repeat, sometimes it's different. A lot of times, honestly, I think writing 2,000 new gratitude journals would have been really hard. I don't know if I could have thought of that many different ones, on a consistent basis. But, yeah. Yes?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Who do I want to be?
What do you want to be when you grow up?
What do I want to be when I grow up? A better version of who I am right now. And I know that's vague. But I want to be more of what I'm already becoming in the sense of a man of integrity, a man who provides value for the people around him, a man of strong faith that is willing to do the work of God over my will for my life. That is who I want to become. In a more tangible aspect, I want to own my own company and be able to provide for my family in whatever we do, and go travel places and do awesome things and speak to people. I like speaking. I like doing acting. I want to make my own movies. So in more tangible ways, those are some things that I also want to do.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Really, like, I have a bunch of small habits I want to achieve, but I really don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you don't have time, how you can be able to keep up with your habits?
So what is one of the habits that you want to do?
Well, like right now, I'm improving my English for sure. I would say now 1 word a day if I can achieve 1 word a day, something like that. But it isn't happening. I always want to working out because I want to like do more stretchings and do like self-care. I set up time, but I really don't have time to do that. And then I want to try to come home on time, don't wait home. But it wasn't happening, so.
So we're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do just a squat, regular squat? I assume you know how to do a regular squat?
Yes,
So we're gonna stand up, all right? Yep. And we're both gonna do a squat, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Cool. How much time did that take? There we go. So how much time did that take?
2 seconds.
A couple seconds? Do you think you can do that every day?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? So that's how I'd structure it. I make that the minimum. And then what you can do is, 1, I have 2 more seconds. 2, I have 2 more seconds. 3. And so you did maybe 4 squats a day. And the reason being is doing 1 squat is not going to make you a super strong, healthy person overall, out of just doing 1 squat. But because you kept the standard of working out, you will do 1 squat, 1, and 5, and 10, and then you'll realize, oh, I have 2 minutes today, I'm gonna do 100, and then I can do 1 push-up, and then you'll have a moment in your week where you have a friend say, hey, let's do a 30-minute workout. So you work out for 30 minutes. You're like, okay, I've been doing this every day, and so now you're more excited, and you make time for 10 minutes doing a YouTube workout or something like that. And so because your focus is, you're always able to do it, even if you just did 1 squat for the next month, first of all, you'll be further than doing nothing. But second of all, I guarantee you, if you commit to just doing 1 squat for the next month, you'll end up doing more than that.
Oh my gosh, you need to be my coach.
Yeah, you are good. Seriously, send me an email and everything like that, and I can go through different habits that you guys want to do. I can just go through them with you. How much time do we have, Tal? If we have a little bit of time, we can also do. If you guys have ideas for habits you want to do, I can share like how I would structure it.
I have a quick clarification question though. It sounds like when you're talking about habits, and I'm the brother, but I haven't heard this before. A lot of this is new to me. There's been a lot of times where I've committed to doing something, and then I also end up not doing it, or don't have time, etc. And I feel like trash the next day usually, or the same day. It sounds like, are you saying basically showing up for yourself and not lying to yourself is more important than the thing you're doing?
Yeah, that's the part about who you're becoming versus what you're doing. Is that it's more important that you do what you said you're going to do, and that you keep your word to yourself, and that you can now tell yourself confidently that I am the type of person that works out every single day. And when you become that type of person, you will naturally get better at it, because identity supersedes action. So if you are a type of person, you will naturally do the type of action that pursues. So what do leaders do? Anyone? Does anyone know what leaders do? They lead, maybe? So if you are a leader, identity-wise, the most natural thing for you to do is lead. And so that's where the identity supersedes. So exactly what you're saying, where it's more important, it's less about the one push-up and more about I'm the type of person that works out every day and is constantly getting stronger and more fit. And when you become that, you'll just do more of it. Anyone else have questions, habits that they want to start? Yes?
I hope this isn't a repeat question, but thank you for sharing all this, Sam. And you mentioned earlier that you use a dry erase board to kind of have a visual on how you keep track of it. What are other methods to help keep track of your habits, especially when you're traveling a lot, or other ways just to keep that momentum going?
So, a lot of it is personal, of like, where are you going to look most? Where is your attention? Because if you place it where your attention is, you're more likely to remember. The biggest thing for me is like, I walk in my living room and look at my whiteboard every day, and so it makes sense. I've done it enough times that I usually don't forget if I'm somewhere else. But if you have like a reminder on your phone, you know, you have a timer or something like that that goes off at the same time to remind you to do a habit. And then another thing is different mediums. I didn't actually touch on this, but this is important as well. Different mediums for doing your habits are also the same. So, for example, I have reading as one of my habits, but what if I don't have a book around the whole day or anywhere and my phone's dead? You know, can I get that from somewhere else? And the answer is yeah, I can always find it, because reading is really just a way for me to say learning new information. That's what my reading habit is learning new information to better myself. So that can come from a conversation, it can come from anywhere. So that's the reminding yourself as well. So for me, it's whiteboard. It can be on your phone. It can be like on your computer if you look there a lot. It can be on the front door. Also, it can be me. I can text, call, and email you every single day, and you'll never forget your habit. Does that answer your question, Kristen?
It does.
Yes.
How long do you feel it takes you to make a routine become a habit?
The day I decide to start doing it, it's a habit. Because the standard is so low, the entry barrier is so low, and because it's like easy to remember, because I just add it underneath my other ones, and I look at those every day. The day I decide, so the day I decide to start doing it, it's already a habit. There is no 30-day, there's no 20-day, there's no 60-day. It's just, it is now something I do every day.
Have you had any habits you started and decided, yeah, I don't want that to be a habit anymore?
I have not, actually. What I have had is, I have my meditating and my prayer as kind of like the same habit. And so I could either meditate or I could pray, and they would achieve the same thing. And I recently switched it so where meditating is just a separate thing. So it's usually like a breathing meditation. Like the short version is like breathe in for 4 counts, hold, breathe out, hold, and that's a bare minimum or something like that. And so now my meditating, my praying are different, and I have to do each one separately. But I haven't actually gotten rid of any yet. That is good, because I feel like there are times, and that is another thing though, you also realize that something like that is not breaking your habit. So when you make a purposeful change, like, I'm going to stop this one, because I thought I could do 15, and that was just too many right now, or I thought cleaning would be a good habit, turns out it's not a good habit, for whatever reason that might be. I don't know.
My mental health.
Right? And then you can just decide to stop doing it. Does that answer your question? Yes.
When you starting your habit, are you starting for the 12 habits at one time, or you gradually add it up? Just like you started 1 or 2 habits, and then after you get your momentum on, and you add some more till the 12, right?
So that's what I did. I started with 4. You could start with less if you wanted to. I started with what I thought I could
12.
handle. I started with just a few. I started with 4, and then I just added some as I went. And when I felt like I had those down, and I was like, okay, I'm doing 7 in a row and I'm good, I added like 1 more. And so I kind of built it up like that. So that's just how I did it. Some people might be able to start doing all 12 at once. I didn't.
Were your
Yes. Yeah.
What's an easy way to set out your schedule?
What's an easy way to set up your what?
Your schedule.
Your standard? Part of it is you'll get creative as you go. And what I mean by that is because you're setting your standards so low, you will start getting more creative in how low you can set it and what qualifies. For example, I mentioned the 1 squat a lot, but there have been times where I'm really sick and I don't want to do 1 squat at all. And I don't. And so that's like the example I used earlier. You kind of become creative with like, okay, well, if your white blood cells are boxing all day, fighting off this disease, that counts as completing my standard for today. And so the part that's important about the standards is that it's so much lower than you think it is. Any standard that you set, it's probably going to be lower than that, than the entry is going to be. And you'll feel silly. If you don't feel silly, the standard isn't low enough. Because you want to feel silly of like, this shouldn't count. This should not count right now. I should not be counting this as my workout for the day, walking in this direction. But you do, because that's the type of day it was. And the next day you go to the gym for an hour, you know? So it's really just setting it up as whatever you can think of is the smallest possible thing in that direction. Does that make sense? And then you got a question, right?
Yeah. Is there a top 3 habits that you recommend?
Top 3 habits that I recommend. Oh, there is. I'm just trying to decide which ones. I think. I don't know if they're the top 3, but gratitude is definitely one of my eyes. It's definitely in that top 3. Is gratitude, journaling.
He needs to meditate.
He needs the sleep one. Roger mentioned that before. You need to sleep at least a little bit every day, Roger. The tiniest bit.
4 hours is good.
The tiniest bit. Is gratitude journaling simply because of the perspective it gives you of life, and I like that. Journaling, like actually journaling, because I don't know why, I'm kind of a geek, but to me, I absolutely love the idea and the ability for me to go back a year ago on this day and say, what was I doing a year ago today? Where was I in life? What was I thinking about? Oh, I had a crush on that girl. That's funny. I actually have a girlfriend now. I don't like her anymore. Thanks, right? She's awesome. She's living here. Journaling is a huge one. And also, journaling to me is like legacy. Because I'm 19, and my life is awesome, and also life is cool in general. But like, I want to show my kids. Like, when my kid is 19, I want to be able to say, you're having a horrible day. Listen to the horrible day I had when I was 19, all right? No, but just to be able to share that with my kids and say, this is what I was living like at this age. And then they can get that perspective. And they can say, oh my gosh, my dad went through some of the same things I'm going through. Wow, and they can gain perspective from me having talked to them. And then the other one was just, I'd probably say working out is one of my other top 3. Because I just think being healthy and being fit, and I like that. I like being able to just run around and do things and have lots of energy and bounce around. So, you got a question?
You mentioned earlier on your journaling, you can just hurry up and talk it.
Mhm.
Is there an app that you do that?
So I have a Google phone. I use Google Record. I know there are other recording apps that are out there that you can just install to record things. And it's funny how I actually landed on that. I started out writing my journal entries on a piece of paper, in a notebook. And I started out writing. The other thing about this is you guys might start some way and realize that that's not the best way for you. And you just have to experiment. Because I started writing and I'd do like stream of consciousness, or I'd try to write specific things down. And then I tried typing it on my laptop and seeing if I liked that version. And a lot of people, everyone who knows me know that I'm an external processor. I talk about thoughts that are in my head. And sometimes people are like, what are you saying? I'm like, I'm just talking out loud. And so for me, I realized, hey, I have a recorder on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I can just say these things. Not only is it faster, and I can say more, but I can be driving home and have the recorder on and be like, I drove today. Things like that.
Thank you.
Yes?
Are there habits that you prefer to do in the morning as opposed to the evening?
There are. I prefer to do almost all of these habits. I prefer in the morning, other than journaling, because it's like, you journal about the day you haven't had yet. Good morning, me. I just woke up. I haven't done anything yet. Yeah, but for me, otherwise, in the morning, I do more of the habits. So I have. If I go to the gym and then I get done with working out, first of all, if I work out in the morning, I usually work out more, and then I'll write down things, and I'll write like 10 things I'm grateful for, versus if I'm about to pass out and I have waited all night and I have 5 things to get done, I'm like 1 or 4 or something like that. So I typically do more of my habits in the morning, like when I do them. So I prefer in the morning. For most of them.
So do you wake up and do your morning routine, you're not all of 12, but a few of your steps?
See, that's part of the flexibility that I like of it, is that right now, like I said, I've been working a lot. I've pretty much been getting up, eating, and going and working. And sometimes what I like doing when my schedule is slightly different is, also I've been feeling not great the previous week, but before that I would get up, I would go to the gym. Pretty much first thing is just get dressed, go to the gym, and then while I'm at the gym, I'd have my little notebooks with me. That's about 4 or 5 of my, and then some of them, another thing about these habits is you can stack habits. For example, I have reading and I have Bible as 2 of my habits, but if I read the Bible, I did both of them. So I just crossed both of them off. There are a lot of things that you can do that's at the same time. While you're at the gym, all the gyms in the room. Again, who's talking to me? While you're at the gym, you can do your working and stretching at the same time. So a lot of them, it sounds like a lot. 12 sounds like a lot. But oftentimes you'll create something throughout the day. Some of them are creating. I created something today. I cleaned something. You can have more specified times. I cleaned an hour. But more often than not, a lot of them you'll just achieve them throughout the day. And you'll be like, cool, I did that. Or you'll do one and it'll accomplish many. So that's how I structure that. Yes?
Do you ever have somebody, especially when you're starting a new habit, have keep you a time next to those habits? Because I know a lot of the time, if I set something for myself, and let's say if the standard is pretty low, then a lot of the times, I may try to keep myself okay, I did it, but in my mind, I know that. So do you have something like that can help?
So, for me, that's where I set the goal and the standard were so different as far as the way to get them. when it comes to these daily habits, at least the framework that I've created for them, the only accountability I really need is memory. Because the only time I've ever missed these is when I forgot. I've never had such a hard day that I couldn't do something towards them. And I 100% agree with you. I definitely feel lots of days like I could have done more than that. I wish I had done more than that, but you did something. And so that's where the goal part, that's like the, 30 minutes a day of working out. That, when you have a higher goal that's like really trying to get into that, I definitely, I like the accountability more aspect for that. That's part of the reason, actually it's a huge reason that I created this Google form for you guys, so that if you do have goals, it's like, yeah, you want the baseline habit that gets a little bit done no matter what, but you also want just a bigger goal that like you really want to focus on this for a certain amount of time, and I can give you every accountability for that like every day. You other questions, correct? And then,
yeah, I was going to ask, is there a bad habit that you try to recommend in terms of overcoming bad habits?
Overcoming bad habits. I mean, there are certain like goals that I have for overcoming bad habits, but they're less of the framework that I have. Like one is just, I think to me, a bad habit is arriving late somewhere. In my mind, that's just a bad habit. I think it's disrespectful to yourself, and I think it's disrespectful to whoever you're going to, because it shows you and them that you don't value either of your guys' time. But that's not really like, doesn't really go into the framework for the smallest thing towards it. So I just focus on doing really good habits, but that is really good to think about in what bad habits, do you not want to do. I do know that from reading Atomic Habits is that making a bad habit hard is one of the best ways to get rid of it. For example, if you have a habit of eating potato chips every day, first of all, if you don't have potato chips in your house, what are you going to eat? Not potato chips. If you don't buy them at the store, they're not going to end up in your house. And they're not going to end up in your stomach. And so when you go back multiple levels and you push back like what leads to something, and that's, you kind of create the difficulty for making a bad habit. For me, another bad habit for me is sometimes like I'll just habitually click YouTube, like watch videos for a few minutes that are cool videos, but they're not what I need to be doing right now. Like I need to be working on something. I have 10 minutes to get ready, and I'm sitting there watching YouTube videos. And so, a way that I was like, unpause the app, so it's not easily accessible. So when you make a bad habit hard to access, a lot of the reasons we do things is just because they're convenient. Because for most of you in the room, if you were really hungry, and I set a bag of chips that's open by you, no matter how much discipline you have, you'll probably grab a chip. If you're really hungry, and I set a bag of baby carrots that's open, that are all fresh and delicious right next to you, you'll probably grab a baby carrot. Like it's just there, and you're hungry, and so it fills the need. And so when you just make that accessible, does that help at all? Did you have another question?
Yeah, yes, I have another question.
I don't think you're getting another red. I don't know what Tao's policy is on that.
The more question I have, the more habits I have is I have more money coming than the red envelope for sure. So my question is like, how do you have like a whiteboard, like kind of like checklist, make sure they check everything, like will it be done, you check, or?
Yeah, that's usually what I do. Yeah.
You check.
Yeah. So that's definitely how I started it, and how because that's how I try and do it most of the time is I have it on the whiteboard, and then when I'm done, I'll check it. Or I'll just check it at the end of the day before I go to bed and make sure I didn't miss anything. So at the end of the day, I'll check mark them, wipe them off, and rewrite them for the next day. Sometimes if I'm at a hotel and I don't have my whiteboard with me, I'll either write it on a notebook, type it on my phone, or I've also been doing it for 4+ years, and so most of the time I just know and I can mentally check through it. But it was super duper helpful for me when I started to have it written and then check it off. Absolutely. Sorry.
I don't know if this is a question, but I was thinking setting a standard, avoid something that is outside of your control, that I can't think of an idea.
Setting a standard to avoid something that's out of your control?
Right. So
Like
you said you talked about being sick or something, or your phone dying, or that sort of thing, something you can do at your bare minimum.
Yes, so that is, so what Zoe was saying, setting a standard that is able to complete when when things happen outside of your control. That's another big part of this framework that I actually didn't touch on very much, is that regardless of what habit you're putting in, you want to make it something that you can do regardless of any circumstance. So for me, journaling or affirmations, for example, I typically write them down. If I don't have my notebook, I record them. If my phone's dead and I don't have my notebook and I'm in the middle of a desert, I say them out loud. If I'm now a mute for some reason, have duct tape on my face. I was kidnapped. I didn't do my affirmations today. I'm kidnapped. There's duct tape. I can't even say them. Can I really purposefully think about my affirmations? If the answer is yes, then you can do it every day no matter what.
What's your minimum on prayer?
My minimum on prayer, thank you God this day. That's the hardest part, is the making sure you have a place where you can remember. So as long as you remember to do it, you'll probably do it. I've always done it when I remember, obviously. So that's the writing it down on the whiteboard, or if you don't have something like that, it's just trying to remember, and you can have me text, call, or email you to remind you so you don't forget. And if you're stuck in a desert and you're kidnapped and you forget, the other great thing about this is if you forget, you didn't break the standard. If you just forgot, the standard wasn't broken, and you can't help it, you forgot.